Well, I received a phone call from my friend Peter Sybil Brown the other day. Peter heard that I was coming here to the Eastern Townships, and he called to tell me about a friend of his, a photographer who has a farm not far away. Called to tell me I should go and meet his friend and watch him work. He takes pictures without a camera, said Peter, of things we cannot see. Takes photographic paper outside at night and floats it in his pond and exposes it to the light of the moon. Well, who could pass up something like that? So last Friday night at twilight, I found myself driving along a washed-out dirt road, about an hour south of here. A dirt road off a dirt road, driving up a mountain to the farm where the photographer, Michael Flomen, spends his weekends and does much of his work. You're in luck, he said when I arrived. The fireflies are back. I'm taking pictures of fireflies tonight. Well, maybe. Because Michael Flomen doesn't take pictures the way you or I do. For 20 years, Flomen was a street photographer. He worked in the style of Cartier-Bresson, taking pictures of people, no editing, no cropping. It was a good discipline, he said. And then one summer evening, he was sitting on the balcony of his farm where he and I were sitting last Friday night, and fireflies started to emerge in the fields in front of him, one by one. As the darkness settled, they filled the field in front of him in full firefly orchestra. And Michael Flomen had one of those moments. He wanted to take their picture, but he didn't want to do it in the traditional way. He ran inside and he got himself a piece of film. He came back out and caught a firefly in his hand. He placed the firefly on the film and watched to see if it might expose the negative with its pulsing light. It did. And so began his grand adventure. Flomen's firefly pictures are unlike anything you have ever seen. First off, they're huge, 4 by 8 feet, some of them, and at first glance, indecipherable. You have no idea what you're looking at. Don't know where you're standing in relation to what you're looking at. There's no horizon, no up and no down. What you do see are white dots of light against a gray background. But when you understand what has happened, when you understand that a firefly has placed those white dots on the film by dancing across it and leaving a record of their dance, well, then the pictures become magic. They're called photograms, said Michael, because they're taken without a camera. He uses big negatives, 8 by 10 inches, because the bigger the negative, the more details you get. This is big boy film, says Flomen. This is the stuff that Karsh used. Well, night has fallen, and Flomen is getting ready to work. He's going to take 10 pictures tonight, and he's putting each of the 10 negatives he's going to use into light-sealed boxes. We're going to take the boxes of film into a field several hundred yards away. Before we leave, however, he runs around the house turning off lights and blowing out candles. Doesn't want to risk even the faintest light, the dimmest of light, bleeding out of the house across the field and onto the film. Doesn't want any light polluting the pictures. Good night to work, he says, as we cross the lawn and set off for the field behind the old barn. A field of tall grass that is already glowing with fireflies. Shimmering twinkles, little lanterns flying here and there, as if he's farming stars. You should see it on a starry night, says Michael, when you have the stars above you and the fireflies below. You feel as if you're floating in space. We stepped into the tall grass of the field to begin the night's work. And as we push through the rustling grass, we lower our voices. Soon, we're whispering. I can't tell if we're doing this because we're worried we might scare the fireflies away, or because we've entered the world of the night, a world that asks silence of us all. Sometimes it scares me, says Michael softly. Sometimes I'll be lying down in the dark, working with the grass all around me. I'll be buried in the grass and I'll hear a rustle, and the hair on my neck will stand up. Probably it's only a vole. Generally, they're not things out here that would eat me. But it reminds me of my place in all of this. I may be human, but out here, I'm not on the top of the totem pole anymore. I'm reminded that I'm in a relationship with everything on this planet. And I like being reminded of that. His voice is becoming even softer, but more intense at the same time. There is an urgency now to our conversation. I sense a familiar boy-like quality settle upon us. We are, after all, chasing fireflies, and Michael is carrying a child's butterfly net. But this intensity, too, a combination of work brushed with the intensity of play. And now Michael has sunk to his knees. He has caught his first firefly. He's holding it in his hand, and he's reaching for his first negative. He's forgotten all about me. He opens the box in the dark of the night and fumbles the negative out. He pushes it down on top of the bug, trapping it between the grass and the film. The firefly is on the ground with a film roof over it. And Michael is lying on his stomach, using his body to shadow the negative from the faint ghost of moon. The bug blasts the negative with its bioluminescence. It's like a dance, says Michael. I'm involved in the event. I'm holding the film, and how I hold it affects what happens. It's like a silent conversation. We're like a pilot and a co-pilot. We may not be talking, but we're working together. After 3, maybe 4 minutes, Michael puts the negative back in the box. He stands up. The firefly floats away. I'm mindful, says Michael, that I am interrupting them. Mindful that they're not out here looking for me. They're looking for mates. That's what the light's about. They're looking for each other. A firefly lives for a year, 2 at the most. They spend nearly all of their life underground, living as little beetle larvae. And then, after living underground for so many months, through the summer and the fall and the winter, they emerge on a warm spring night for their fairy dance. They come out of the ground with wings, and they twinkle like stars in the grasses and in the fields and in the ditches along the sides of the roads. Their dance lasts for 2 or 3 weeks, and when it's done, so are they. If you asked him, Michael Flomen would tell you that he's trying to answer the big questions with his photograms. Sometimes, he might say, the biggest questions are answered by the littlest things.